The state government is about to launch a new form of digital ID that means you'll never have to hand over your personal details to anyone again. It will all be stored in the Service New South Wales app on your phone, which will prove you are who you say you are.
Scanning his licence, passport and Medicare card, in less than 3 minutes, the minister proves he really is Victor Dominello.
This is unquestionably the Holy Grail.
Yeah, the Holy Grail of total government control under the guise of safety, security, and convenience.
This is your first look at the state's new digital ID.
This is a huge step forward in giving back people control over their data, control over their identity.
See, you control your data. You control your identity. That's all it is.
Personal credentials will be stored on your device. No IDs need to be handed over. And that means keeping your address and birth date to yourself. If you need to hire a car, rent a property, set up a bank account, check into a hotel, or prove you're over 18 to buy alcohol or attend an event.
All you need to do is tap your phone and that will be a validation that you are real.
Australians from, the kitchen table to the boardroom table would have an increased anxiety following the deluge of data breaches we saw late last year.
But this seeks to take away the risk because companies will never have a copy of your details in the first place. But how can it trust you are who you say you are? Well, you'll need to take a selfie, which will be cross-checked against other forms of ID you've submitted, and when there's a match, you're good to go. The technology will be opt-in and should be available later this year, although you'll run into problems interstate.
More than happy to offer it to other jurisdictions.
Amy Clements, 7 News.
You are outside here when you know you shouldn't be. Okay. The Public Space Protection Order says not to be stood outside here, doesn't it?
I haven't seen that. It says protest.
Yeah, protest. But people know who you are and they know why you're here.
No, I'm not protesting.
But they will. And the people that consistently phone us, which are the residents and the people that use this place, are the ones that say that they know. And it's their perception of events, isn't it?
I'm silently playing and that's all I'm doing.
Okay. And it's their perception of events, which is that you're protesting. Now, I get what you're saying. I completely understand where you're coming from. But it's people's perception, isn't it?
I think there has to be some measurable level of intimidation or harassment, and that's not something that I'm doing.
Okay,
I don't have any intention.
Okay then. So what we'll start with is we're going to issue you with a ticket now, and if you don't leave the area, you'll then be arrested. Do you understand that? Okay. I won't ask if you're happy with that, but you're happy that you understand the process.
I understand.
Yeah, okay.
Hey guys, study after study shows that if you want strong bones and muscles, healthy hair, skin, teeth, and nails, you need the 5 types of collagen in your diet. I get mine from BioTrust. I've got a link in the description with a massive discount, and it'll tell you all about it.
It is an honor to be on this desk every day. It really is. But what we've just witnessed is the problem with this show, where we create narratives that do not exist in reality. The implication, what you are implying, that the white voters that vote on NBA are racist, that they favor white people. You just said that. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. That is exactly what you implied, Kendrick Perkins. That is exactly what you implied. Secondly, hold on.
I did not call. I stated the facts. And you're not about to sit up.
We all know what you implied the other day. We all know what you implied just now. Hold on.
I stated it's the facts.
One at a time.
It's the facts. It's the facts.
I mean, that wasn't the news part of that day. The news part of the day was that there was an insurrection. It was the hundreds of people who caused damage and injury and insurrection. I think he's missing maybe the headline from that day.
Yeah, and how they got in the Capitol by overrunning the Capitol Police. That's a key part of this, obviously. What we saw tonight, Allison, from Tucker is nothing new. He has been trying to sanitize the very real violence that we all saw unfold at the U.S. Capitol in real time for quite some time now. I think what's really notable here is that he had a very key assist from Kevin McCarthy, someone who was at the Capitol on that day, who condemned the violence in the immediate wake of that attack, but has since tried to get back in the good graces of Trump and the MAGA fan base. And so what's so key here is that he helped Tucker Carlson try to rewrite history by giving him this surveillance footage that he denied to actual news organizations. And now Tucker Carlson's back at his usual game of trying to, not even trying to, of lying to his audience about the events of that day.
Guys, they were sightseers, according to Tucker.
I think this is a huge strategic misfire for Carlson, for McCarthy, for that whole ecosystem, because the last thing common sense Republicans want to do is relitigate January 6th. They want to move on. They want to move forward. And this is just bringing it all back up. And anybody who sees this tape has also seen the other tape with cops being terrorized, beaten.
We are taking the only measures we have to bring inflation down.
And putting 2 million people out of work is just part of the cost, and they just have to bear it.
Will working people be better off if we just walk away from our jobs and inflation remains 5-6%?
Let me ask you about what happens if you do this. Since the end of World War II, there have been 12 times in which the unemployment rate has increased by 1 percentage point within 1 year, exactly what you're aiming to do right now. How many of those times did the U.S. economy avoid falling into a recession?
You know, it's not as black and white as very
Just
very
looking
infrequent.
at the numbers, it actually is pretty black
Alan
and white.
Blinder's written a book on this, and
There have been 12 times that we've seen a 1 point increase in the unemployment rate in a year. That's exactly what your Fed report has put out as the projection and the plan based on how you're going to keep raising these interest rates. How many times did the economy fail to fall into a recession after doing that? Out of 12 times.
I think the number is 0.
I think the number is 0.
When you look at this now, when you look at the backstory and what was going on behind the scenes, do you feel that you were lied to about how serious the situation was?
Well, yeah, of course it was. I mean, all the country was lied. I mean, it was very misled, and looking back on it, I mean, I think obviously there was under a lot of pressure at the time, but there was a lot of information held back. I think they over-exaggerated so many things. I mean, I don't feel I've done anything wrong. We just, carried out what the government was suggesting to us. But now it's all coming out through this journalist. I think that, we're certainly misled, and so much was, the country was locked down for too long, loans and furlough. All this was so unnecessary looking back on it. I think the only thing they got right was the vaccination.
We haven't even really got to the messages about the vaccination programme yet. I mean, according to one of our contributors yesterday, they may have 3 months of revelations to still come from these 100,000 messages. And I think chronologically it seems to be going from the start of the pandemic through. So in terms of whether we get to that particular point, we're not even there yet, knowing the conversations that were going on behind the scenes. But would you, looking back now, do you think that your mandated vaccination programme at your company was based on fraud? It was based on the fact that they had exaggerated the fears. They said they wanted to frighten the pants off people. How frightened were you?
Yeah, of course, but we was totally misled. But as I say, I don't feel that, we didn't actually implement it. That's what we planned to do for all new recruits. And, staff still had a choice whether they wanted to have the vaccination or not. So I think we just carried out what it was suggested by us, and at that time it sounded the best way to carry on things.
Did you lose any staff over it, Charlie? Did some people say, look, I'm just not going to do this, I'm not going to...
Well, there's a few people said that, when it comes through, we're going to jump ship, yeah. and that's fine, that's their choice. But, we was protecting customers, protecting staff.
Were customers coming to you in bigger numbers because you were saying, I can provide a vaccinated plumber?
Undoubtedly. I mean, you know, we sent them out with test kits before they went through the door. And, yeah, look, you know, we were sort of certainly got the business side of it right, and it was the right thing. And, you know, I think I'll still carry out the same sort of procedure tomorrow, given the information by the government. I mean, we're not to know that they're misleading us or lying or withholding information. I mean, but what an idiot this Matt Hancock is for actually, you know, passing on text messages and information to a journalist. You know, obviously the Inquirer's got all that information anyhow, but, you know, I mean, and then he's trying to make money out of it. I think that's what the bad taste is now.
Did you, before the pandemic, because what you're kind of describing is a sort of blind faith in the messaging that was coming from the government. Have you always been the kind of person that just believes what the government tells you?
No, you can't say that. I mean, I think most people believe what the government will. You know, they're on the telly 24 hours a day, giving us that information, latest information, do this, do that, lockdown, can't go here, can't go there. So, I mean, we've got to be guided by somebody. But of course I don't believe everything they say. I don't believe half what they say.
Charlie, how significant was it for you that we got the Chief Medical Officer, Chris Whitty, alongside the Health Secretary, making this point on a daily basis? It wasn't just a politician, it was a so-called expert.
Yeah, well, again, we're guided by them, but, you know, I think you had a lot of infighting there, and I think if Hancock would have sort of followed what he was being told by the scientists or Chris Whitley, then it would have made the old sort of ministers all getting it wrong, because, you know, they was very quick to do the lockdown, and it's created all this work from home nonsense, so it's an ongoing problem.